That's so quiet. Everybody's right on cue. This is great. Thank you for coming to CalMatters. I'm Kristen Go. I am the editor-in-chief, and we are really excited to have you all here. It was funny, I was looking at the invite list. Lots of communications folks and people who are representing the good people of California. Thank you for coming because we are really excited to take you under the hood of digital democracy and show you how it works, not just for better informing the public, but also probably some of you in your jobs. And this is an exciting moment. We officially launched a few weeks ago, and it's something that we've been building and had the idea for years. Dave Lesher, who is sitting right here, is the co-founder of CalMatters, and he was co-founder, editor, CEO, you name it at CalMatters. He's probably done it all. And for the last year plus, he's really put his effort behind bringing digital democracy to life. When Dave co-founded CalMatters, the idea was there were so few people who were still covering the Capitol that he wanted to make sure that Californians knew what was happening in the Capitol. And so CalMatters, I think now maybe has one of the largest presence in terms of the Capitol Press Corps, but it's still not enough. And even the other news organizations who have Capitol correspondents, it's still not enough. This is where digital democracy can help. So Dave is going to talk a little bit about what it is and how you can use it. And I'm going to have him introduce our great panel who have been hard at work behind the scenes as well. Also, I do want to recognize there are some people who have been working on digital democracy. If you can raise your hands if you're in the room. So we've got this great support network. It's not just the folks who are on stage, but all the folks who are also here in the room who've helped bring this to life. So Dave, I'm going to turn over to you.
I'm going to come up here so I can drive this machine. And, we have a bit of a multimedia show we're going to give you today. So welcome and thank you all for coming. We are very excited to show this to you. Really, this is kind of on the cutting edge of journalism right now. It's really on the cutting edge of technology in terms of, using artificial intelligence. And it's really kind of looking, maybe somewhat on the cutting edge of how people might engage with their state government in terms of using technology to see what's happening. So there's nothing like this anywhere in the country, and we think it's going to make a big difference. So we're very happy and excited to show it off. So I want to make a couple of different introductions here just to get started. I want to introduce Fouad Kazmoud, who's a computer science faculty at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and really kind of the magician or one of the magicians at Cal Poly who built this machine. And Fouad's going to talk to us a little bit later about, kind of look under the hood about what's there. Ryan Sabalo is our digital democracy reporter who joined CalMatters just a couple months ago after about 17 years at the Sacramento Bee. And a couple of other, I wanted to acknowledge Senator Scott Welk here, and I think we had some other legislators who RSVP'd, but I don't see any now. I'm sorry, Juan Atlantis. I saw your RSVP. We haven't met yet, but welcome and thank you for coming. And then another introduction. I wanted to welcome Julie Watts. Julie is the California investigative reporter for CBS News. And this is kind of the special bonus feature of our event today because Julie did a story about digital democracy. And it's going to be broadcast tonight and tomorrow night in Sacramento and Los Angeles and San Francisco. She worked on this story. There's a CalMatters version of this story too, and so she worked with Ryan. This story looks at, kind of the pattern of when legislators don't vote and what that means. And so we're going to take a quick look at this. You're going to get a sneak preview of a story that's going to be broadcast tonight, and then we'll talk more about digital democracy on the other side, and we'll get a tour of the website later. So here I'm going to show you the very first kind of broadcast of this story.
Political insiders and lawmakers know how things work inside these walls, but now you can find out too. And that power at your fingertips could change the way things work here at the state capitol.
I cried all 3 times I told that story yesterday. I mean, maybe not.
They formed a sort of sisterhood.
He was set to go to the fire academy.
No one would ever choose to join.
3 weeks before he died at that desk, I was with him at that desk finalizing his applications for the UCs. Zach deserves to know where he would have gotten in.
They've each lost a child over the past few years, poisoned by a fentanyl-laced prescription pill.
She has the kind of heart that would want to help others, and so as her mom, that's what I need to do now.
These unintentional activists now find purpose in working to save other parents from the same fate.
This is what happened to Zach.
Speaking to students at schools and lawmakers at the state capitol. But the more they learn about state government,
This legislative process can be kind of overwhelming to navigate and mystifying,
the more secretive it seems.
but this really gives you this roadmap.
Enter Digital Democracy, a new website and AI search tool from the nonpartisan nonprofit newsroom CalMatters. The website is connected to a database run by Cal Poly that includes every bill introduced, every vote cast, every word spoken by every lawmaker, lobbyist, and advocate, created to help everyday people like you and these moms find out what's really happening inside these walls.
I'm intrigued and I'm also appalled by what I've learned.
For instance, a simple search for Laura Didier's name reveals every hearing she's been to,
There are no words.
including this one.
I was shocked.
Look closely, here in white, is the powerful Senate Public Safety Chair, Bay Area Senator Aisha Wahab.
Madam Chair, thank you for your time. My name is Laura Didier.
You can see her reflection here as Laura chokes back tears.
Killed him in his bedroom.
And here, moments later, Senator Wahab gets up and walks out while Laura describes the most painful moment of her life. The expressions behind her speak volumes.
I just thought, if my son doesn't deserve 2 minutes of your time when you were elected to be here,
Speakers are only allowed 2 minutes.
certainly when a grieving mother has 40 seconds left to speak, that's not the best time to make your exit.
I mean, how callous. That is not what we're expecting or what we want from our lawmakers.
Senator Wahab's staff would not tell us why she walked out, but it's what Digital Democracy revealed about Alexandra's law that has these moms even more concerned.
A lot of supporters.
Lawmakers didn't even bother to vote. The law, named after a Southern California college student who was poisoned by a fentanyl-laced prescription pill, would require judges to warn people convicted of fentanyl-related crimes that if they sell fentanyl again and if someone dies, they could be charged with murder.
I'm standing here on behalf of all the brown and black moms. Jeff.
And Zach.
Cameron.
Merrick. Alexandra.
More than 100 people testified at this Senate Public Safety hearing, most in support of the bill. In fact, 22 bipartisan senators signed on as co-authors, meaning it already had enough votes to pass on the Senate floor.
It's
But first, it had to pass the Public Safety Committee,
beyond frustrating.
where the same senators
I'm insulted.
simply didn't vote.
No one should have that kind of power.
So the popular bill died
It's not appropriate to not go on record.
without anyone voting against the bill on the record.
We're doing our job by voting. That is what they signed up for, to represent us.
Is that the way government's supposed to work?
Do I think that's the way? No, of course not.
Southern California Senator Tom Umberg was the primary author of Alexandra's law.
So I can understand why the parents felt so aggrieved and some so angry.
He explains there are many reasons lawmakers may decline to vote. Sometimes it's a polite way to vote no, but in other cases, it's a way to kill a bill without taking a recorded stance.
That is the system that we have. Should we change it? Probably so.
Both Assembly and Senate leadership declined to comment for this story. Digital Democracy reveals Alexandra's law was one of at least 15 bills that died last year because lawmakers chose not to vote. In CalMatters, Dave Lesher believes by making it easier to see things like that, Digital Democracy could prompt change.
I do think it's a game changer.
Thank you, Madam President.
You see, until now, the political consequences of voting against party leadership or powerful special interests often outweighed the incentive to do the right thing. But now lawmakers can get credit for taking a political risk because the public will actually see it.
It'll change the decision-making process if that is public.
And once lawmakers see what Digital Democracy can do,
I think they're going to be worried.
these women think they'll have no choice but to change the way they work.
I'm hoping they start showing up to do their job.
Yeah. Cut off at the end there, but anyway, thank you, Julie. And the story. So this is a story that really couldn't have been done before digital democracy. For one thing, in the CalMatters version, we looked at 1 million votes of current legislators going back 5 years, and we could, just pushing a couple buttons, actually Thomas Garrity pushed more than a couple buttons, but we could see 1 million votes going back 5 years, and we could calculate how many were yes, how many were no, how many were not vote recorded, NVRs. And one of the conclusions we saw was, about the Democrats in the legislature vote no less than 1% of the time, which really stood out, and that was part of our story. The other thing we saw is like Julie's story showed, that there are bills that die because people don't vote, not because they voted against them, but because they don't vote. And so, I think you also see in this story, how it makes the process more accessible for advocates who want to engage with the state legislature. And so those kind of goals of digital democracy to have that kind of transparency and accountability in the policymaking process and to make it more accessible for more people are two of our goals. There are actually 3 different parts of digital democracy that I wanted to, describe. First, it's a website, and this is the homepage, but it's a website that's designed for a very broad and general audience. We had a web development firm called 10up, a global web development firm that I would highly recommend. They've been tremendous to work with over the last year. But the point is, how do we take this wonky topic and all this data and really make it so that a general audience is not turned off or alienated, and so kind of make the design and the data visualizations and the presentation of it more intuitive for a broad audience. So that kind of website where you can be introduced to all 120 legislators, and there's also a way to look at what is the agenda in California this year on the major topics, education or environment or healthcare. To have a kind of trusted portal of nonpartisan information available to the public to find out about legislators and about the policymaking process is really something that doesn't exist like this anywhere else. So the second thing is the database. I mean, the database is unprecedented, and Fawad can talk more about it. He and the Cal Poly team here built it, but it is an enormous amount of data from dozens of sources of public government data that are pulled in all into one place so they can be queried just by that search bar. That search bar is amazingly powerful. All the data about money and votes and bills and demographic information about districts and all the transcripts and of all these words uttered in hearings or floor sessions. So the database is really unprecedented. And then the third part is something we're just starting to use, but it's using the artificial intelligence to help reporters find stories. So on top of this database, or actually, it's probably not on top, but I'm just going to think of it that way. On top of the database, there's this layer of artificial intelligence, and it kind of scans this database in real time. As hearings are coming in and as this data is being brought in, the artificial intelligence scans the database, and it's been trained to look for story ideas for reporters. In fact, we're still training it. We're actually doing that almost as we speak. And when it finds what it thinks is a story idea, it produces like a one-page, what we call a tip sheet. The tip sheet has kind of a quick summary of what the story idea is. It has background on the legislation, and then it has a variety of data that shows the relationships between the supporters and opponents of that legislation and the members of the committee, how everybody voted, what their positions were. And then it even pulls, quotes from the hearings that you might use in a story. So I want to make this available to reporters all over California. I've gone around the state talking to editors at radio stations and newspapers and telling them that this was going to become available, and they're excited about it. I mean, newsrooms today, as you can imagine, are shrinking, and the reporters are pressed for time. But you know, to have a story that's kind of compiled by this technology, and in a way that much of the information is there, and the story can be turned around fairly quickly. You know, it depends on the story, but you know, the story can be turned around fairly quickly. And these local editors, they want to cover their legislator, but you know, it's just without a tool like this and the staff that they have, it's hard. So you know, my hope is that you know, this just generates much more coverage of the legislature and the legislative process, because really, you know, I was a LA Times reporter in the Sacramento Bureau for a while and at the LA Times for many years, but you know, there was a much more coverage of the state government, and you know, I can tell you the policymaking process is different now. For a lot of reasons, but that's probably the biggest one, is that kind of that media coverage is gone. So one last thing about the stories that digital democracy is going to generate. There is this accountability function and investigative function, but like I said, a lot of it is just to get more attention to what's happening in the legislature and who these legislators are. And so if you look at some of the stories Ryan's just done recently, we posted one today about Assemblyman Juan Carrillo. Juan Carrillo is a former city planner in a little desert town in Southern California, and he has a bill. His district is, let's say, economically distressed, and he has a bill to make it easier for commercial developers to cut down Joshua trees, because he thinks we need that, or they need that for economic development. So we looked at this legislator and their background and why they were proposing this and what difference it would make. Another bill was about, another story that we wrote was Senator Ben Allen's bill to put speed cameras on PCH in Malibu after a traffic accident that killed several people. Another bill was about Assemblyman Joe Patterson looking for exemptions from the state's solar power or solar panel requirement for new homes for those people who have had their homes burned down by wildfires. So, you know, these are stories that just, like I say, they're just about conversations that are happening now and looking at who the players are and why these discussions came up. And then just one last thing, and I'm going to ask Fouad to give us a quick look under the hood here. You know, this is brand new and it's unprecedented and it's very big. And so we're going to be looking for feedback, help. You know, this is evolving every day. We see things that we try and improve, and so, you know, especially for this audience, you people know this world and how this might help or be better. Obviously, data is, you know, there's ways that it's imprecise, like if you know that people don't go by the same name on every document in state government. But there, if you have thoughts and ideas, you know, dave@calmatters.org. You know, I would be interested to see what you think. So Fouad, I want to turn it over to Fouad, and also, you know, to acknowledge the whole team here that's from Cal Polys.
Sure. Can you hear me? Thanks so much, Dave. Yeah, let me just quickly introduce Dr. Dekjar, who is the chief designer of the database. Next to him is Thomas Jarity, who is a graduate of us, and he's now the chief engineer here at CalMatters. And then Kenny Law, who worked on the API part. And then over here we have Anna Kiefer, who worked on some of the AI that went into the transcription tool, and then Mihika Nigam as well, who worked on that. And then we also have Sarah Elwine and Anthony Collin back there as well. Say hi, everybody. So yeah, let me just give you a quick overview. This looks really busy, but I I'm learning not to put people to sleep, so so help me out. See if we can do this. Basically, there is lots of data, and I think a major contribution that we have here is try to make sense of that data. And it lives in various places, in various forms, and various authorities, and various formats, and we're trying to bring it together to make sense. That's kind of what this whole thing is all about. Now, probably the biggest source of the data that we have is these videos that are produced by used to be produced by Cal Channel back in the day, but now they're produced by the state legislature, Senate, and Assembly. And then these videos have to be available to the public. And we take those videos, we do a automated transcription, which uses a lot of AI to do good transcription, but even that's not good enough. So even in the year 2024, if someone tells you I have AI that can do 100% good transcription, it's a lie, okay? It is not the case. It's not good enough for journalism or legal work or anything like that. So because of that, we actually take the output of the automated transcription and we do an up-leveling using actual human workforce. A lot of students at Cal Poly work on it. And so we bring it back to a level that is comparable, that is professional. So that goes into the database. Then over here we have various, government databases and websites, like the legislature website where it says who belongs into what committee, and LegInfo and CalAccess and FPPC and all those places where you can get like lobbyist registrations and so on. We meticulously and periodically scrape those sites and databases and various formats and bring it in, put it in the same database. And once we have here, a big job of it, database again designed by Professor Dektyar right there, a big challenge here is to make these things normalized. That is to say, the data that came from here, some guy named Bob Smith who may have donated something to somebody, and then some other guy named Bob Smith who may have come and said something, we have to find out are those the same people or not the same people? And we do our best to make that happen using as many tools as we can. It's not perfect, but it's the best we can do. It's the best anyone can do. So once we have that here, we publish an API, and in that API, the website that you see here essentially makes connections to it and gets all this data that it needs from this database system and just displays it. Attached to it is also this like sophisticated search system, Elasticsearch, that allows you to do complicated searches, multiple terms and things that may have been misspelled and so on, and be able to get that information that gets indexed, and so it's available for the public. And then down here was what Dave was talking about, is a system that uses AI to kind of just like crunch these numbers like all the time to see if there is some interesting anomaly or some pattern of a story that we've seen before that journalists like Ryan have provided us before that would make a good story, and it just searches for that and looks for that all the time. As soon as one of those shows up, it creates a tip sheet, an interactive tip sheet that reporters can look at and play with, and it would save them a lot of time gathering all that info and the sources to write their story. So it doesn't write a story, it doesn't contribute directly to the news, but it just helps a reporter do their work better and faster. Is that good?
Great, yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Fouad. And now we're going to give you a kind of tour of exactly what comes out of all that machinery. And, this is kind of a moment too, because we've been meeting for a couple times a week for a year, putting this together. So with all the Cal Poly team here. So and now that it just launched 3 weeks ago, it's kind of a graduation here. So let me give you a quick demonstration. I'm going to start. This is the home page. And I'm going to show you how there's a page for every legislator that I'll show first. You can go to a list of the legislators, or you can type in anything in this search bar, but I will put in the Assembly Speaker, and you can see this is the legislators page. And one of the things, like I said, we're trying to make this not wonky and make it accessible and so kind of immediately signal to somebody that this is this is, something that might be more approachable. And that's why we put that banner image across the top that's from that legislator's district. And then we have a bar with all of the stories that are written about that legislator. We have several data visualizations that pull from a variety of data about, where somebody is ideologically, where bill activity in terms of how many bills they introduced, how many passed and failed, kind of a batting average. Money, we have a lot of information about money, but how they compare with other people. Ryan wrote 120 bios of all the legislators. We tried to have the bot do it, but it was still a little clunky. So we decided, the bot can't quite replace Ryan yet. It'll be a while. So we have 6 different kinds of money data that we display here. There's 3 different categories of election money. You can see there, this is the display here. It's called a sunburst, is all the money that goes directly to a candidate. And you can look more closely at each category and see, how much money came from insurance companies or all these different categories. There's also the total amounts that the party spent to elect this legislator and how much independent expenditure committees spent on this election, and that bar underneath is comparing how much this legislator got compared to all legislators. Then we have 3 categories of what we call influence money, because this is money given after somebody is elected. It's for gifts or travel or behests. And if you know what a behest is, it's when a legislator asks somebody or an organization to give to a third party, and those requests are required to be disclosed. And so we have a record of, for example, these are bequests that Speaker Rivas requested. He had requested Governor for California give $20,000 to this organization, for example. We also have all of the bills that legislator introduced. We have all the committees that legislator served on, and obviously the speaker is not on committees right now. We have interest group ratings for about each legislator from a variety of different places. We have links directly to all the most recent times they talked in any public hearing or floor session. And then we have kind of a profile of the district with a map and voter registration, a variety of different census data, demographic data about the district, and the results of the last election. And so I can come up here and I can, which one was it? I can click straight through to a bill, and it will pick up right where
legislation simply clarifies that when
Mr.
a labor
Rivas
compliance
starts
entity,
to
when
speak,
they detect a possible inaccuracy
transcript
in an
underneath,
electronic certified payroll record from a public works.
Turn off the sound, but the transcript up underneath will track with the video, and I can just click ahead, and the video will track the transcript. I can also can click through to right here is just a real quick box that shows the bill that's being discussed, but every single bill that's introduced and gets a web page in Digital Democracy. And you'll see there's a status bar there, and then if you're familiar with LegInfo, that's where a lot of this information comes from, but all the LegInfo data is here, the text, the status. You can see the votes of every bill at every hearing or floor session. You can see kind of a list of who voted for, who voted against. You can see this was in Julie's story, the little screenshots of some of this work. And you can see, every time this bill was came up in a hearing, and I can click straight through to when this bill was, when it was first raised in the Assembly Standing Committee on Labor and Employment. I can also here see a list of everybody who spoke on this bill in that hearing. Oops. I don't know, that just started. I got to figure out how to turn those off, those pop-ups. They keep beating my firewall. Anyway, you can look at every speaker that was in this hearing, and not only, there's a web page for every single speaker who has ever spoken in the legislature. And any data that we have on that person is collected on that page. So if somebody speaks many times, then there'll be a page for that person, with everything that they've done in the legislature for the period covered by this. So there's the legislator pages, the hearing pages, the bill pages. I want to show you a couple different directories. Here you can search any hearing, and you can search for any hearing by committee, by chamber, by year, by topic. You can search any bill and by topic, by chamber, by author, by year. You can search organizations, and every organization also has a web page where everything, all the data we have about that organization is captured on that page. So we are all familiar with the California Teachers Association. You will see here is a list of all the people who have spoken in the legislature representing CTA. And then this is something that we are going to fix soon, but it'll get a view more page instead of having to scroll through all of this. But these are all the times that somebody spoke for CTA in the legislature. Here are all the positions that CTA has taken on various bills for and against. Here is a list of all the money that CTA has given to legislators, and here's a link directly to all the appearances by somebody representing CTA and here related to hearings or bills. There's also CTA is very busy. And then you can search for people or financials. You can search, money by any type, by direct donations or IECs or other things. Then I just wanted to show you the home page. Lastly, this bar, you could put anything in there. You can put a bill number. You could put a legislator's name. I can put CalMatters, and I can look at comments. And it will take me right to when this CalMatters was
Fortunately,
mentioned.
as that CalMatters story showed, the disclosures have only ever been used twice.
So it's pretty easy. You could I put swear words in here, see how many times legislators swear in public. And then this is what I called like I said before, the California agenda on the major topics in the state. These pages are curated by our beat reporters. So our education reporter wrote this summary of what we expect to see on education in California this coming year. We have a set of facts about education in California. Our beat reporters pick the top bills about that topic. And then there's access to all of the bills related to education that are pending in the legislature in this session. Our beat reporters pick who are the leading legislators on education issues in California. And then the machinery actually identifies who are the most prominent non-legislator leaders, and that they're selected by the people who have taken positions on education-related bills either by testifying or by, submitting a position to that shows up on the bill analysis. So these are the people who have done, people and organizations that have done that most frequently on education issues. And then CalMatters does a lot of explainers, we call them, about, issues and, for example, the achievement gap. What is the achievement gap? So you can find that there. But this is designed to be, if somebody, I'm interested in education. I want to know what's happening in California this year on education. This is designed to be a way to kind of begin to understand that and look for who are the people and who are the bills where I might engage the system. Going back to this page, lastly, just wrapping it up, you can look at the legislature through a variety of different screens for, gender and race, ethnicity, age, party. And then this is one that we've had fun with and we're going to have even more fun with. But it kind of shows a lot of the data that's in this data system. It looks for the top 10 and the bottom 10 legislators on a variety of different topics. Age, you can see Bob Archuleta is the oldest legislator in California, and Alex Lee is the youngest. You can look by district poverty, and then one of the ones that's getting attention is who's the most talkative person in the legislature. Right now it's John Laird. He actually he's moved up. He wasn't number one a little while ago. Yeah, and I heard we saw in our transcripts, and Assemblyman Rendon, was saying on one of our transcripts about how he wants to be on the top of this list. So he said he's got a lot of talking to do. Anyway, that's getting a lot of fun attention. And then we have a variety of explainers that CalMatters has done about how state government works. So that is a really quick tour through how we have displayed an enormous amount of data and, really a powerful machine to look at, who are the people in Sacramento, the legislators, as well as the interest groups and the lobbyists and anybody who testifies, and what's happening on the legislation. So I want to have Ryan talk just a bit, because Ryan is the one who he joined us in November, and he's been the pioneer on applying really this tool and digital democracy to the journalism that he's done, and he's done a number of stories, and he's been a reporter for a long time, so he can speak best about what difference this makes.
So can you guys hear me? All right. So one of the things that's just absolutely amazing about this is having everything. If you've ever tried to follow a bill in the legislature before this, like having to try to find the one bill that you're looking for in that 2-hour hearing, they're not in a specific order. It's just a mess, and it takes forever, and then you got to try to weed through. Right now, you can go in. If you're only interested in the one bill, you can click on it. You can see every hearing. It automatically populates who the supporters and opponents already are. And that's not just coming from the bill analysis. It's actually it tracks the different testimonies that have been given. And they get categorized as for and against. So all the Me Too's on a bill you get to see. Makes it super, super easy, super helpful. And then these tip sheets have all of the financial information on there that we can see. And so so we can start to look at the influence of, how money is at play in these different with these different organizations and how that influences folks. So what it's done is it's basically taken some of these stories, what it used to take me 2-3 days to do, and now I can crank them out in a day, at least the reporting and the writing part of it. And so I was a reporter up at the Record Searchlight in Reading for 7 years before eventually making my way to SAC-B. And I am really super excited about giving these struggling local newsrooms this tool to be able to keep an eye on their legislator. We can actually set these tip sheets up so that basically anything because when I worked up in Reading, I only cared what, Jim Nielsen and Doug LaMalfa were doing at the time, right? Because those were my local lawmakers and that's who we covered. And so I can actually have these tip sheets set up to anytime they do anything, you can actually see that. And to be able to give these small newsrooms that ability to do that, it's great. Today, I had the unfortunate experience of having to write my first correction for a story that I did. And the cool thing about this was the PR person that pointed this out actually used Digital Democracy's testimony to point out that we've got a little nuance wrong in somebody's testimony. And so it's keeping us honest too, even though I kind of want to stand in traffic right now, but that's okay. But yeah, so I think that this thing is going to be a real game changer for not just journalism, but for everybody. It makes this whole process so much more transparent and easier to follow, and I think that's going to make it better for the state. So.
Good. I want to open it up to questions, but I mean, I'm gonna head one off about, well, artificial intelligence, which we are all, I don't know if that was your question, but we're very excited about it and very scared of it. And just this artificial intelligence, we are able to link back to the original source for everything that we get. And all of the original sources are public government documents. So this isn't ChatGPT or something like that, but it is journalistically sound. So I wanted to head that off because it's a scary thing when you say AI these days. Yes.
So thank you guys for doing this. This is going to help my office. This is my ledge director, Dave Monroy, and I'll come back from a committee or whatever and like, hey, can we pull that? And it takes a while to get something. I'm sure the senator's office has the same issue. How soon is this downloaded onto your website? Is it like take a day? Will it take a couple days?
So part of it is how quickly does the legislature post the video? And it's supposed to be done within 24 hours, and it almost always is. Frankly, I would love to intervene before. Is there a way we can get access to the video before it's posted? But anyway, that's the 24-hour window, and then we aim to have it up within 24 hours after that. So, 24 to 48-hour turnaround. I think you'll see most of our stuff. I think when these last 2 weeks, I think we had 50 hours of hearings this week or last week? Last week. Yeah. And how many 50 hours of hearings and we have humans who go first it's transcribed by AI and then it has human editors who go through it because we have to one of the biggest things, there's a lot of work here, and Anna is one of the ones, the masters of this, but we have to link all the people who talk to make sure that they're the right ones that we're recognizing in the data, and then link that data to all the other data that we have. And so that takes a human. The machines, we actually use face recognition to try and circumvent the time it takes to do that. But anyway, point being, for 50 hours of hearings, it takes a lot of time to edit them and then post them too. So hope that answers the, yeah.
I understand, the product that you produce is based on the input, the data that you receive. And in my experience, powers that be have made conscious decisions to not post videos of committee hearings in the past. And so I was just curious to know, is there somebody tracking these instances at every hearing? And if those videos aren't posted, is there follow-up with the powers that be to ensure that those videos are being posted? Because I assume that's going to create gaps in your information if that is the case.
There was an initiative, Proposition 54, was it? Right. That requires, it used to be there were hearing rooms that didn't have cameras in them. Now, since Proposition 54, which also had the 72-hour, every hearing is supposed to be taped, transcribed, or taped and posted within 24 hours. So it's in the initiative. So there shouldn't be discretion about what gets posted and what doesn't. And, we haven't seen any. If you see any. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have to be the ones who post it, and, you would be able to tell if there's something happened and there's no video posted, but I haven't seen it yet, and it would violate the initiative.
And as far as, I was looking at the bill information, when you look up a specific bill, it identifies first committee and then floor vote, but I know some bills go through multiple committees, they're double referred, sometimes even triple referred, and that doesn't even include appropriations. Are there steps or considerations of including additional? Because I know if you click through, you'll see the full status and history, but on the summary, it just says first committee. I didn't know if there was plans to expand that to kind of show the more visual display of the process for many of those individuals who don't have that knowledge.
So this pulls from LegInfo. So whatever LegInfo posts is there, and there should be a video and transcript for absolutely everything. There shouldn't be anything missing. Anything, I mean, we are capturing every video that's posted and everything that LegInfo posts. So if there's a gap.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is just the graphics problem, and so we want it to be the same size for every bill, and there could be like many different referrals, as you mentioned. So that same, it says first chamber, second chamber, and then that same dot or that stage that it's on could represent more than one referral.
The concern there is that the sponsors and the stakeholders, as staff, we work hard to ensure that they're submitting letters in a timely fashion, and they're calling our office to say, hey, when can we submit this letter? Which committee does it go to? Visually, I think if it was more helpful, it would be more helpful to them if they can see every committee that it's going through, or at least expected to go through, so that they can start timing their support calls and letters and things like that.
So there's there's the status tab, which is just the same as LegInfo, but it doesn't look ahead. It just looks at what it's been through. If there is data where we could look ahead, I think we could add it, but we can only do what LegInfo has.
Hi, thank you. So one question that I had is, I imagine this isn't the case now, but would it be possible, particularly when it comes to the financial data, it'd be interesting if someone could access like a spreadsheet with all that data, so you could kind of plot out who are the people getting the most money from this group? Does it affect their voting? Like, is there a correlation? I think that would be useful for, maybe not the general public, but for journalists and people who really want to dig deep and see if there's like a trend, and also figure out relatively, is my legislature taking a lot of money? And then I also wondered if you plan on expanding this tool to like the governor's office, constitutional officers, stuff beyond the legislature.
Yeah, I would like to display, definitely like to expand it, especially for the campaign money and things like that, to other offices. About the other part, the relationships between people and especially money, you're kind of channeling my conversation or with Fawad and Thomas just in the last couple weeks. Literally, we're building that spreadsheet. And it's being built for the tip sheet, but it's possibly we could post it on the website at some point too. But basically, the idea was about 6 data points that you can, as a reporter, you would see instantly. You could see the legislator's name, the legislator's position on a bill, the drop-down menu that gives you every organization that took a position on that bill, what that position was, and then what money they've given to that legislator. And then we have something called an alignment score, which is how many times the legislator has voted in consistently with that organization. So, like if you vote 62% of the time in the same way that organization votes, it'll show up there as an alignment score. So all of those data points will be on the tip sheet across a table, so a reporter can look down everybody on the committee and see their relationship with every supporter and opponent on the bill. So right now, that is a spreadsheet that exists on Thomas's computer. It is coming someday soon to a tip sheet, and then maybe someday after that we can make a version of it available on the website. Yeah.
So we literally have a class at Cal Poly right now that's working on exactly what you're asking. We're combing through the CalAccess database that goes beyond just the legislators, what we were tracking right now, and into all the candidates for all the state elections, including the elected offices, which would cover the offices of the governor, lieutenant governor, and so on.
Anything else? Or?
I mean, the one thing that's made this a challenge, and maybe Fawad could talk to this, is the challenge with the data is it's coming in very dirty. So, because the deal is every time somebody fills their name out, or somebody in your office fills out a name for a donation or whatever, they write it a little differently, right? And so one of the big challenges, I think they might find it interesting to learn a little bit about the challenges of trying to clean up that data.
Yeah. Let me first recognize Mr. David Hernandez. I forgot your face was being blocked last time, so thanks for all your work on here. Another student at Cal Poly. Absolutely. So if lawmakers in the room, what we could really use is a way to tie appearances of different organizations together, because right now we don't have that. Like, we don't know. People one thing, and then there is major donors who have to file separately. But people would be great because we don't have access to anything like Social Security. There's no verification of who this person is. We just have a first and a last name. But even better than that would be the organizations. If we could somehow get like some kind of ID or something like that you could require, that would definitively tie this organization together with all the other versions of itself that we've seen over time. So that would be really helpful.
And I'll give you an example of kind of how this shows up in the data is like, say you have Pacific Gas and Electric. Well, that's one name. PG&E is another name. Pacific Gas and Electric PAC, Pacific Gas and Electric, so you have 16 different names for the same organization, and the data all comes in with all that. And so the big job that these guys are trying to do right now is to figure out ways to condense that and to verify that all of these different organizations are all part of have been named on different documents, are all tied together. So if you do see in the data, you'll often see sometimes, and we're working on cleaning all this up, you'll see names that are duplicates and things like that. We're working on it. If you see it, please let us know and we'll fix them.
I have a question. Hi, thanks for doing this. It's very cool, so I appreciate this. My question is about the tip sheets. So kind of understand you're tracking one legislator, all of their actions, but what do the tip sheets look like for the anomalies, and how are you kind of connecting what's going into those tip sheets that's not just the facts?
Well, it doesn't actually frame a story. It just frames of why this might be interesting to you. And so the deal is like, we have it set up we want it to be, obviously if you see something with a whole bunch of discussion in the hearing, the tip sheet flags that. This is something that's worth looking at. We're also working on getting it set up so that, say, you're aligned all the time with this organization, and then that organization is opposes this bill, but you vote the other way, right? That should trigger something in the tip sheet. And we're working on things like if a bill gets killed by inaction instead of like through NVRs, that's going to get flagged from now on, and that's probably going to be a story that we're going to do on that. So it's all these different things that we're setting up, and we're working with the programmers to basically weight these different things. If someone drops an F-bomb in the hearing, we've got that triggered. I want to see what made somebody so spitting mad that they dropped an F-bomb in a hearing, right? And so we've just got a bunch of different things like that that kind of all weights it. And it's up to the reporter to take a look at this to see if it's newsworthy. And I mean, part of the interesting, like I did that Joshua Tree story today, what made that interesting to me is you see all of these different environmental groups, which are a Democratic mainstay, right, opposing this bill, but it passed its first committee, a Democrat-controlled committee anyway. That's a story, probably, right? So.
You gotta wait till it gets to the other house. You have the Casa Origin phenomenon.
Sure.
That's my friend, we're in caucus together.
Sure. So, but we still want to see it, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have learned a lot about technology, but with the way we train the AI is through phenoms, and Ryan and I can come up with dozens of phenoms, like an F-bomb, or look for whenever Newsom's name is mentioned, or if somebody votes against their money or against their party, or breaks pattern from something that they've done in the past, or there's a lot of different. Those are phenoms that are training the AI.
So speaking of patterns, so obviously I understand the alignment. Ideology bar on there. How is that determined? I'm done.
So we, you can see the whole description on the methodology page, but it's a calculation. Yeah, it's a calculation put together by political scientists that's used in Congress and all over the country. But it's important to understand exactly what it is, because it's not like it measures legislators' votes against each other. So it's all relative to the people in the legislature. It's just how far or close you are to the others on the scale. So it's not like this defines what is left and what is right. It doesn't do that. It just it's kind of a comparison of
grading curve, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And you're wherever you're at.
Yeah. I mean, I've looked at it and looked at who's where on it, and it's interesting. I mean, we were trying to think of what do people want to know about their legislator. I mean, one of the first things they want to know is where is this person ideologically? Who supports them and things like that. So we tried. There's no perfect way to put it on a spectrum, though. Yeah.
I want to ask can I have one more question real quick?
Yeah.
So first of all, CalMatters is awesome. I do a program up here when people come up for their lobby days about how to advocate. I always talk about what a resource you guys are, and I do the same thing back home. And I think this is really phenomenal. And I was so intent on getting that in, I already forgot the question I was going to have. It'll come back to me. It was a good one, though.
AI? About AI? Oh, well. There's another question here. I'll come back to you.
How does the transcription deal with testimony done in other languages?
I'm sorry, what?
How does the transcription deal with testimony done in other languages, so Spanish, et cetera?
That's a good question. Does Anna know? Do you know, Fawad?
Yeah, it's not transcribed at the moment. The major problem, and Anna's pointed out to me many times, is that the services that do automated transcription, they want to know what the language is ahead of time. They can't be like, it's English, but then some parts of it are Spanish, that kind of thing. But there is some good movement to try to support that. Automatically detect when it switches over, code switches, and then you could do the transcription separately for that part and move on. At the moment, we don't have that support, unfortunately.
How are we going to drive citizens to the website?
So thank you for that one. We just launched this 3 weeks ago, and we're going to spend all this year rolling it out. And I think there's going to be a lot of events like this all over the state. Trainings and webinars, and college campuses, and good government groups, and reporters, and that's one way. We have a whole plan for public relations to reach out at different moments when people might be thinking about this. Obviously, the election, but there's the political conventions. There's other times when we might take advantage of the end of the session or something like that when people might be thinking about this. And, you know, we have a PR consultant who's planting stories nationally about this, because I don't know if I mentioned, we're planning to open this all over the country. We're going to Texas, Florida, and Illinois, looking at that later this year. But so we're trying to, you know, get that, the news out nationally too. So, you know, any ideas you have? Because it's not easy. This is a big state. I mean, one of the things I'd really like to do, the low-hanging fruit to me, is some of these organizations, like whether it's PTAs or Sierra Club or Chamber of Commerce, or that, you know, have mailing lists and groups that if they would send it out, you know, and say, hey, this is a good tool, I'd like to get them most aware as quickly as we can that this is a resource. Yeah, any ideas you have?
One of the things I think is cool is I was talking about this on Twitter, and a professor got on there and said, you know, this is going to be used in thousands of undergraduate political science research papers, right? And I think that's just so cool. Like, you've got all this. It's going to be helping journalism. It's going to be helping the political scene, all the lobbyists and the advocates and everything, and it's going to help make some really fun research too. So
And op researchers.
Op researchers,
Yeah.
especially. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Look up those swear words. Yeah. Yeah.
Roger Cadfield. I spent 20 years in the legislature and a couple of years with the Sacramento Union newspaper. We talked a couple times.
Yeah.
And this is a magnificent achievement since the media has deserted Sacramento. In 1980, when I came up to the legislature, we had radio, we had TV, we had newspapers. We didn't have internet, but we had real journalism. And so this is a magnificent achievement, and keep on it. But you need the marketing, you need the money, and I can't help you there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in and around Sacramento for 30 years. So the LA Times got me here, and then I was at PPIC, the Public Policy Institute, and editor of California Journal magazine before I killed it off, and then started CalMatters. So.
Hey, just a comment to respond to that. I'm Alexi Kossoff. I'm one of the Capitol reporters here at CalMatters. I'm also the president of the Sacramento Press Club. We actually have dozens of fantastic reporters at news outlets, both local media, TV, Politico, CalMatters, all kinds of stuff, who are doing fantastic journalism about the Capitol, have been for years, and we'd encourage you to subscribe and support their work so they can continue to do that. Thanks.
Thanks, Alexi. Yeah.
If I can just add, from a broadcast perspective, it is difficult, I think, aside from Ashley Zavala at KCRA, there's just not people who are embedded, especially locally, at the Capitol. And so this is a game changer. And what I think is really interesting, and we sort of saw that in the story that I did here, is we were talking earlier, the pendulum shifts on many issues in California, right? And last year it was a bit more progressive when it came to public safety. This year the pendulum's sort of shifting the other way. But I was able to do a story where I'm highlighting something that happened last year. And I think for those who work for lawmakers in this room, that's something important to make sure that your bosses know, is that this is going to allow me with one search word to find something they said in a hearing 4 years ago. Right? And so when they get up and they say, hey, here's what I believe, I can say, yeah, but last year you said this. I think that this is going to bring more television coverage because we have the sound and we have the video and we have these beautiful graphics to be able to put that on TV. With print, it's really easy to write, but now this gives me a tool to cover the Capitol in a new way, and I think other local TV reporters will do the same from across the state.
Click on somebody's soundbite at a hearing, whether it's an advocate or a lawmaker, and have that right there makes their job a lot easier too.
Thank you, Julie. Yeah, and we're at the bottom of the hour, so I want to thank everybody for coming, and we'll be hanging out here for a little while more if there's any more questions. But thank you very much, and any feedback you can provide, and please a round of applause for the whole team that helped build this. Thank you.